Yeah,
Are you still
because I
doing
think I was
caffeine or just like
yeah. So I started. This isn't like a permanent thing, but I started drinking these like yerba mate teas. You drink those?
yeah, every day, man. Yeah.
Oh, did you tell me about them once? Was that the
Maybe
tea
I
you once
did.
told me about?
I feel like I've told everyone I know about
All
them.
right.
Yes.
Oh shit. So do you buy big packs of yerba mate?
No, I haven't seen. I only see them at Safeway like individually, and it's always
Oh,
like two
okay.
for $5. So I get like
So you grab 5?
8. I usually
Oh
get like
wow.
yeah. But yeah, no, I actually started drinking yerba mate because I saw people on
So it's
YouTube
yerba
drinking it.
mate. Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, the only reason I know that is just from watching these people on YouTube talk about it, how like
Yeah.
they stopped drinking coffee because they were getting like headaches and jitters and
Before
yerba
I was
mate.
killing people, and now I am about peace and yerba mate.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
drinking coffee, and I was a full-fledged murderer.
And now I'm coming to life.
You're right. Yeah, it
Yeah.
really does. It really makes you feel like you're a part of something, you know. Reach deep
Yeah.
into the yerba mate culture, and you'll discover people have long gathered to Im- imbibe mate to awaken the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love reading the cans. Yeah.
yeah.
It's yeah, I started like looking more into it, and like even a lot of like South American like athletes will drink it before
So really, every
games.
day, you do it every day.
Almost every day. But I
Wow.
definitely I I'd say if I'm probably like 80% yerba mate and 20% coffee now.
Oh, that's
Um,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
know how
I feel like
long
it
I'll be able
does
to
help
keep
me
it up.
like it does help me like focus. I think.
Yeah. Because I sometimes my thing with coffee was what I was wondering is like, am I really being more productive, or do I just feel more productive because I'm so hyped up? You know, like
Yeah.
sure, maybe I have 10 times as many ideas as I usually would have, but am I actually executing any of those, or am I just gonna forget them too after the caffeine buzz wears
Yeah.
off? You know, so
Yeah,
that's
and then
kind of
have like
the
a
way I was thinking about it.
yeah, and then like crash a little bit too.
Right,
You're like,
right. And I don't know, I just found myself so like too like irritable and angry as the day went on too. And I was like, you maybe you wouldn't be as irritable and angry, you know, like that'd be good, you know, it'd be a better way to go
yeah.
through life. So
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually like I mean, how much I'm actually like more focused or like locked in when I'm drinking it, but it like subconsciously I feel that way. So even if it's just all in my head, like I'm still gonna try and
yeah.
do it.
So the way I
Yeah.
discovered it is through watching a show called The Cave.
Kenny
I don't know if
Beats.
yeah, Kenny Beats' show.
Yeah, that's how I
You
saw it
watch it?
too. I,
Okay. Wow, we're
yeah,
so on the same page here.
we're on the
I
same
thought I was gonna
wavelength
come
here.
on
Yeah.
the show and bring this whole new thing, and you're gonna be like, Yerba mate, what is that? Kenny Beats show, what is that? Or something like that. And I was gonna be like, no, this is how I started this whole new path. But you're 10 steps ahead. Yeah,
Yeah, it's funny we
yeah.
took like the same direction though. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Whenever I saw him, I'm like, "What is that? That's a cool can. What he's drinking? It doesn't look like a regular energy drink. What is that?" And I just thought it was cool. So I was like, I thought for summer, I was like, I'm buying a case of that, you know. And so I
Yeah.
ordered a case, yeah, like a 12 pack from Amazon that I have
Yeah,
sitting
it's
under my desk here.
no, I'm definitely I'm more than pleased with that. I don't watch a ton of I haven't seen a ton of those videos, but I watched one with Mark Rebier, who I
Oh,
really like,
yeah.
and Kenny Beats was like telling him that he should try it, and he's like, you'll either think that you're having a heart attack or you're gonna have a creative breakthrough. It's like one or the other. I was like, I
Yeah,
should try that. Yeah.
because I think they're very strong in caffeine, but
Hmm.
I feel like I don't necessarily notice it as much because I am so dependent on coffee,
Yeah.
and I have ingested so much coffee that like maybe it's not hitting me as much as it would someone else.
Yeah. And once I started drinking it, I started like looking into actually like how much caffeine is in like a 12 or like 16 ounce cup of coffee. And it's really pretty similar to to like these big cans. So I started to realize like, oh shit, there's like actually a ton of caffeine just in
Yeah, there
regular
is.
black coffee too. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's been good. I now like we save money on coffee, but just spending it all on
But it's
yerba
like
mate.
$3 a can on
Yeah,
the yerba mate. Yeah. My flavor's the Blue Foria. I don't know which one yours is.
Blue Foria and Revel Berry are my two favorites. I have a Revel Berry right now. Yeah.
Man, so I was gonna just like probably finish this like case I bought and call it a day, but I might keep the train going now. You're kind of motivating me to.
Yeah, you should. I honestly like feel more like you were talking about being like irritable and like angry. Like
Yeah.
I would get to that point in the afternoon too, where I was just like, what the
Yeah.
fuck did I do today? Like
Yeah.
I was staring at my computer thinking that I'm working, but I didn't get anything done.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I feel much
And it
more like
feels like
positive.
you feels like you feed into the internet or something, like you're just
Yeah.
scrolling and shit. You're just wasting time. Yeah.
Yeah, like I have energy from coffee, but I just use it to waste time while I could be doing actual like productive shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's also because I'm already like an irritable person. Like coffee is not like it's not a good I don't know, force for that, because like it makes me just like if I get annoyed by something, I'll get like twice as annoyed, you know?
Yeah.
Like I had this moment with like a coworker this week where I straight up called this guy. I told him he was ignorant for something he said. This like 40-year-old guy. And it was such a stupid argument. And like I don't look back on it like with regret necessarily, because I was like, I stood up for what I believed in, you know? But I was like thinking at the time, I was like, wow, like you were way too like fueled up. You know what I mean? Like that, like you were too mad during that. Like you should have just like been able to calmly state how you felt, you know, and like spoken about it more neutrally than I did. Like I don't know. I just felt like, you know, I wanted to like rip this guy's soul apart, you know, that sort of feeling. So I was like, all right, maybe no coffee tomorrow.
Yeah, it takes one of those moments for you to make the change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to know, if you want to know an insight into that story, here's what the guy said. He said, and what's so stupid about the argument is that I have no knowledge on this subject whatsoever. So I was arguing about something that I don't even really know anything about. But the guy basically said, we're like stocking shelves, right? And he's like, we saw this Jamaican like ginger beer. And I was like, Jamaican ginger beer. And then he was like, I would never try anything from Jamaica. And I was just like, why? And he was like, because there is no good beer in Jamaica. And I was just like, that's ignorant. And then he was like, and then he like followed it up. He was like, what do you mean? Name one good brewery from Jamaica. And then I realized, I'm like, I don't have any. I don't know any breweries from Jamaica, of course. Why would? Oh, are they from Jamaica?
They're probably owned by an American company, honestly, but they.
Oh, but do they like represent
themselves.
the Jamaican side? Yeah. And so like I wasn't on a good side of the argument, even though like, but what I was not trying to argue for Jamaican beer. I was arguing against like that worldview of like we live in Glen Ellen and we're white, so there's no good Jamaican beer, that sort of thing. And then he continued to use that whole mentality against my argument. And we were in Glen Ellen, in a Binny's in Glen Ellen. So it worked for his side, you know? He was like, look at all the beer around us. Not one beer from Jamaica. And I was like, oh, damn it. And I was like, I just want to like destroy this guy right now, but I really can't. And like, we're on such different like wavelengths right now. There's nothing I can say about it. But at least I said something, you know, because in the past when someone says something that's a little like, I don't know, it's not even like triggering. It's more like just something I heavily disagree with. I'll just kind of like lean back. And, you know, I just felt good not to lean back for a change. It's kind of a direction I'm trying to go. But without being like a mean person, I guess, you know?
Yeah. I definitely, Yeah, I definitely relate to that because just especially with last year, I felt like there's so many like sensitive things,
Yeah,
and I either ignore it or I go like full on combative. There's
yeah.
no in between. Yeah.
Right. That's the problem I have too. And it's one of those things as like an adult, like you're learning, you're like you realize that all of adulthood is just like everyone having like opinions about everything. And
Yeah.
everyone just like there's a great scene in Bo Burnham's special, which I just watched this week, which I know you've seen a
Nice.
couple times, and
Oh
where
yeah.
he says, "Can anyone ever just shut up
Yeah.
about anything they think
Yeah.
ever?" And like he just keeps going on, just saying that
But
over, and
one
then he
thing.
says,
Yeah.
"Yeah, just about one thing," and he's like, "Of course, though, I am on right now talking about what I think."
Yeah.
So there's that. And yeah,
Yeah.
that was one of those parts of the special where I was like, oh, this, yes, exactly, because that's like one of those things I've noticed about adulthood is like everyone is so like religious to their opinions that they're like
Hmm.
willing to die with them, and also like I don't know, it's like how they decide how they ingest their media material, like what comedians they like, as well as where they're even gonna fucking live, for instance. So it's just, yeah,
Yeah.
it's real out here with the opinions, man.
Yeah. Everyone, yeah, has to have an opinion on every single thing.
Yeah, on
And
everything.
I'm
And we all
definitely
defer so much in so many different ways. It's like crazy.
yeah. I definitely am I've definitely just within the past year even been just trying to think more along the lines of uh like I read this book about this French guy from like the 1500s and his like philosophy on life and everything. And one of his big things, like he seems just like a real lazy schmuck, but like in a
Yeah,
good way. And his whole like
right.
philosophy was like I'm certain of nothing. Like nobody really knows
Yeah,
anything. So to like it's okay.
right,
Like you don't have to have an opinion on everything.
right. Yeah.
And I would just try and tie that into like my everyday life. Like who's better, Jordan or LeBron? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't know.
Right,
Nobody's ever gonna
right.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, like I've learned like I respect like people more, like the more they're willing to, like, I don't know, just admit ignorance more. Like one of my favorite friends I have, and also like one of the funniest friends I have, he's like one of those guys who's just willing to like talk about like how confused he is by everything and how everything works. He's like, "Yep, I have no idea what I'm doing." And I love it. Like we laugh
Yeah.
about it constantly, and it's like it's refreshing because everyone, especially in their 20s, has this like chip on their shoulder to prove that they do in fact know everything. And it's just not the way it is with anybody. And so like that's like, yeah, so people like that, I don't know, I gravitate more. I'm like, if you can like laugh at yourself a little bit, I'm down with it.
Yeah, that's I don't subscribe to the notion of people who just like call others out on on shit that they themselves don't actually know anything about, just they
Yeah.
just want to inject their own opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, even though I was one of like what we started this by me being one of those guys. It's just that's just like the cost though of like that's the cost of like, I don't know, being around and like living, I think.
Yeah, being an adult, yeah, that's kind of what you
Yeah,
just have
like
to.
if you work with someone who says, and this guy, he says things all the time where I'm just like, ugh, like this guy, like
Yeah.
not even like offensive like white people things, just like I don't know, general like life views and stuff like that. And like it's just not my, like I know there's plenty of people who are like that, but be where I am right now, it's just not my cup of tea to listen to, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
The
there's
weird
there
game.
there's that. I needed to talk about that.
Yeah. Glad you could get that off your chest. Yeah. But yeah, we should now be sponsored by Yerba Mate.
Dude,
That
that'd
would be
be ama-
great.
that'd be amazing. I don't know if we're chill enough though.
Yeah, they probably don't even sponsor Kenny Beats, so we're probably
I know they
way down
don't.
on the
Like
totem
that's how
pole. Yeah.
cool they are. They don't even like sponsor Kenny
Yeah.
Beats. I think in the past though, like one of the reasons why like I've anxiously drank coffee this year is because I felt like when I've been unproductive in the past, I was like, well, you weren't drinking coffee to start the day, so you were dragging to start the day. But then I realized I'm like, oh no, that wasn't the coffee, man. That was you. That was like, I don't know, a mental like presence thing. That was more like just I don't know, I was just fucking up, That was on myself. That was just me not having a good approach to the day and just being lazy and that just that depressed, like getting up late, watching stuff all day sort of mentality.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Wasn't
Can't
because I
blame the
wasn't
coffee
drinking
on that.
coffee. Nah, it wasn't because I wasn't drinking coffee. Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're in that mindset, you start blaming things that really have no not that much influence. Yeah. I guess should we get into
Should we get
to the
talk about
episode?
we're gonna talk about the cable guy today.
The Cable Guy, one of the this is gonna sound crazy, but one of the weirder Jim Carrey roles ever.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it like, I don't know, I think it blends with a lot of them in its own way. I think it's also because this is such a more, the rest of the movie around him has such a mainstream like feel to it also, which makes it weirder. Like when I
Yeah.
was watching, for instance, the medieval times scene, I was kind of like, all right, this feels like a very, like something that's very modern, something that isn't trying to tonally, it's trying to be like a popular comedy. It's just, it has this like incredibly weird guy in it,
Yeah. Yeah. And he's I don't like a lot of Jim Carrey movies in the 90s. He's just all the people are like fairly normal. And then there's Jim Carrey, just like Ace Ventura. Like
Yeah,
everybody is pretty normal. And then
yeah,
there's him who is just insane.
right, right.
And
And
this
I
is a
think,
time when he's like on top of the world where they would like the whole movie is centered around his sort of like characters and his like
yeah,
his sense of humor where because I mean that's what made these movies money. Yeah, it was
there would be no
Jim
movie
Carrey.
if this guy wasn't, so weird. That's like the
Yeah.
whole the whole thing in this movie. It's just this guy's a weirdo. And it is like it is like seen that way throughout. Like anything he says is just, I don't know, just something. It's not,
Hmm.
he doesn't just say hello in a like any person. Like he makes you like he makes your brain get tied into knots with the way he says hello. He like, it'll make you think about it for a little bit, or just
Yeah.
like what the movie's supposed to do, which is make you laugh. Like there were just so many moments where he'll just say like one phrase, like, and I just I what I'm thinking about. You remember the scene that made me the laugh most in this movie, which we can talk about again later, is like the game scene at Matthew Broderick Stevens' parents'
With
house,
his
where like,
family. Yeah.
yeah, where the cable guy kind of like hijacks this family dinner, and he's like, and he is just like,
Vagina.
the word is vagina, and 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 Matthew Broderick's like just the way the whole family is like in for it, they're like
Yeah.
all down for it, and Matthew Broderick's like the only normal one where he's like got to talk to his mom and be like, he's got to be like, center,
Yeah.
center, like just guess it so
Woman.
he can be done with this. Yeah, woman.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this with my family. Yeah. And
The
then
way yeah, exactly,
yeah.
and the way he just looks so annoyed by it, but then like the cable guy, he's just like embracing it, and like his lisp just embraces it, and the
Yeah.
whole family, Bob Odenkirk included, is just
Yeah.
like, they just can't get enough of it for some reason. They're like the weirdest family ever. He's like penis.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's just like the life of the party. Like he's just
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
fun, yeah, fun guy. And yeah, that the way, yeah, you're right. The way he says all that, just he totally
yeah,
commits to
yeah.
that. That
I don't know. That
Matthew
scene for me with
is
like comedic gold. Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
word is
Penis. Yeah.
nipple.
Nipple. Oh
In
yeah,
ways,
it's
it's like
so weird.
such a low form comedy, but I don't know, with like Jim Carrey and Matthew Broderick's like acting in it, and also the way the scene is like shot and covered by Ben Stiller, I was kind of like, this scene's kind of like comedic gold right now. Like, this is
Yeah,
great.
genuinely really uncomfortable, and it totally makes sense why Matthew Broderick would be wanting to just punch that guy,
Yeah,
which then traumatizes the family. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah, this was
I
back
mean,
when like Jim Carrey, I feel like, is doing like 3 movies a year, all these like wacky comedies with uh yeah, just like sort
with
of
everybody,
yeah, right.
pretty much.
Yeah, he's on top of the world. And I don't even was this had Ben Stiller really done much like
So he had
acting even before
directed,
this?
oh, acting?
Yeah, I feel like he
I'm
wasn't
not
even
sh-
that big of a star.
So he started out like as he wanted to be a director.
Hmm.
Um, that's like kind of in the 90s how he came up. And so he directed that one movie we talked about on another Reality Bites.
Oh, that's
I don't know
right.
if you
Yeah.
remember, we talked about Reality Bites once. And so that would be his, I don't know, maybe his directorial debut. And then he follows it up with Cable Guy, which happens to have like so much comedic talent in it.
Yeah.
And I think, let me check before all right. I thought that Judd Apatow had something to do with this.
He did. Yeah,
He
he
produced. He
yeah,
produced.
yeah. And I think I was reading something about how he wrote a good chunk of the script but didn't end up getting a writing credit for some reason.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, so it seemed like it's kind of like the brainchild of Ben Stiller, Judd Apatow, and Jim Carrey in a way.
right.
Um,
And
yeah,
I feel like Jim Carrey is also very like ahead of everyone in this movie. Like everyone else is kind of still trying to make it in a way,
hmm
and
yeah, yeah,
so like
mm,
they're kind of riding off his talent a little bit. Well, and I also thought that while I was watching the movie, I was like, okay, this script is really not as good a lot of the times as Jim Carrey is. Like he's really making a lot of this. Like a lot of this is kind of generic like comedy stuff, but
hmm
it's just Jim Carrey taken to a whole nother level, another weird place.
yeah, yeah. I mean, really, the rest of it is just some normal guy who's bummed about his girlfriend breaking up with him,
Yeah.
and yeah, everyone is really totally normal. And then like at work, he has his own struggles with just his boss and like success at work. But yeah,
Hmm.
there's really not a whole lot of actual like comedic moments outside of when Jim Carrey's there, who also
No.
adds to some like horror, like
Oh
absolutely
yeah. Yeah.
terrifying scenes too.
Like the scene where he attacks Owen Wilson in the bathroom. I was actually scared when he like popped up in the urinal. I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
holy
yeah.
shit.
And that's just a really like funny, hilarious fight scene too. He's like
Yeah,
sticking his
yeah.
face in the hand dryer. Yeah, Owen Wilson in this too. This cast is pretty crazy. I didn't remember all these people in it from the last time I watched this, but yeah, I mean Jack Black is like Matthew Broderick's actual like best friend.
Yeah, yeah.
Leslie Mann is his ex-girlfriend. And then I
Uh,
love the little like subplot of Ben Stiller being on trial for
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
on the murder
He
trial
he's
throughout the
seen
whole
at the
movie.
beginning and the end, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a nice little cameo by him too.
Yeah. I like I do I like this movie as like an everyman classical comedy though too, like just the idea of it's starting off with a guy who's like, the cable guy is not here. You know what I mean? Like, I've been waiting for him all day. Like, as basic as that is, it's like, I don't know. It just feels like a typical lazy man's comedy. And who can't relate to just like, loving television, and that being a lot of what this movie is about. I've seen a lot of like genre, like, labels of this movie. Like everyone says this movie's a satire, and they don't do that with a lot of movies. And I would almost say it's a stretch. I would say it's a stretch almost to call this movie a satire, because that means it's like really calculated and has like that much to say about society, which I really don't. I think it's more so about like a lonely guy who has no friends.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But there are like small like satirical things, like the fact that the cable guy has connections like to everything, and he's able to use that to control this guy's life. Like, like I got them all free cable. That's how we're able to do this right now.
Yeah, what
Free
is
cable.
He keeps saying like all these people are man, I forget like what the word is, but he uses it to describe everyone. Like, oh, that's a customer, a loyalty customer, or something like that. Yeah.
It's like top customer or something like that, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, first class customer. It's like something like that.
Yeah, it's even when Matthew Broderick's in jail and like the guard is also
the guard behind him. Yeah.
yeah. And so it's basically, you see that he's really like all of his friendships and just like the people he knows are all based in him giving them free stuff and like hooking
and
them
he
up,
doesn't
like, juicing
actually
them
know
up.
anyone outside of being a cable guy.
Yeah. And I guess the satire part maybe comes in like commentary on like how much Americans are just like glued to TV with the whole like trial at the end where like everybody's trying to watch it.
Right.
And then he,
And I
obviously
think
not
when he has
selling
that
it.
very like prophetic like monologue on top of the cable dish, that's like very satirical too. I forget what he says. This is one of those movies that I wish I had seen just like a couple more times, because I'd be able to like say a lot of the quotes more.
Yeah,
because it is very quotable.
there's so many quotes and references to
Like here's one thing he
TV.
says. He says, "Free cable is the ultimate aphrodisiac."
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
like that's something he says. He says that all the time. You'll be able to visit the one channel. Oh yeah. The future is now. Soon every American home will integrate their television, phone, and computer. You'll be able to visit the Louvre on one channel, or watch female wrestling on another. You could do your shopping at home or play Mortal Kombat with a friend from Vietnam.
yeah.
There's no end to the possibilities. That's the dish line that I was thinking of.
Yeah. And I feel like I guess you can look into some of that being satire, but I feel like the main thing is just his character is like his whole personality is just shaped by TV, because he's so lonely, and he talks about his mother not paying attention to him, I think, in the end, so that like really all he had was the TV.
And he's very nerdy too, in that like not only does he have a huge list, but every time he talks, it's like he is trying to impersonate someone from a TV show or movie. And like every time he talks, I mean, the most obvious example is when they're like, there are medieval times, and he starts to talk like from a medieval time, like he talks to Janine Garofalo like he's like a lord, and then he acts like sexist towards her, like she's going to be like serving him later, and also like sleeping with him, like meet his every need, and he like says this really offensive thing towards her, and then you could tell he laughs it off to Matthew Broderick. Like that part was pretty funny.
Yeah, like he's always playing this character. Yeah, like you said, pretty basic
it's like
premise.
Like how The Godfather has a slow zoom out of its main character. This has a slow zoom out of a television, where we see, as you saw, Ben Stiller, sitting there on trial.
Yeah.
I will say his '90s roles that he did have were very memorable and funny, such as his Big Daddy role, where he's
Wait,
like, "You're in my world now, Grandma."
I can't remember him
He's
in Big Daddy.
he's like the doctor at the old folks home that
Oh yeah,
no, not Big
yeah,
Daddy.
yeah,
I'm trying to think of Happy Gilmore. I'm thinking of Happy Gilmore.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he
He's got
leaves
the
her there,
mustache.
and
Yeah.
he's got the mustache, and he's like, "You're in my world now, Grandma."
Yeah, that is a good role.
Yeah,
Man, I
that's
forgot about
like
that.
such an iconic
Check out the name
role.
tag.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You can trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up.
yeah. And you know what else I've
Yeah,
noticed, going off that bit, is that Adam Sandler has like for some reason he just thinks grandmas are funny.
he does. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not only seen in his stand-up special, but I was watching what Adam Sandler did I watch recently? I watched The Wedding Singer for the second time, and there's just I don't know, there's just multiple times in like the weddings when he's performing where the grandmas just do something like weird. Like they just show the grandmas in the audience acting just really strange or something.
Yeah.
And he's at multiple weddings, and there's always these grandma just bids that come out of nowhere.
And I mean, in he even Happy Madison movie, he produced Grandma's Boy and
Oh yeah,
Hubie Halloween. I mean, it's his
yeah. That
mom, but
his mom is a grandma basically, and
yeah,
she's she's fucking hilarious in it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for
Sandler
some
loves the
reason.
old ladies. They make him laugh
Yeah,
more than anything. Yeah.
yeah. For some reason, um, another bit in Wedding Singer that really like got to me is when I like the scene where Drew Barrymore dances with like the fat loser kid,
Yeah.
and he just grabs her ass and starts dancing with her like that, and then literally like everyone just starts doing it in the whole in the whole
Yeah.
dance. Fucking hilarious. Probably wouldn't be done today, but I still think it's like
Yeah.
it still made me very happy to watch.
Man, yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that.
Yeah, that's why I had to throw it on. So anyways, this is where Matthew Broderick calls Jack Black, and he's like, "How's the move going, buddy?" And he's like, the cable guy isn't here. He's like, "So it's going terrible." I haven't been able to watch TV all day, and he's been making him wait like 5 hours, which is there's like a whole Seinfeld episode where I don't know if you've seen it or remember it, where Kramer like is mad at the cable guy making him wait like all day, so he does the reverse to the cable. He does the reverse to the cable guy and says he's going to be available from like 8 to 2 or whatever, and then he makes him wait. So like just the premise of this movie to me is already like almost, I don't know, not unoriginal, but it feels like too small almost for a movie.
Yeah.
Like a guy dealing with a cable guy. There's tons of comedy movies like this where it feels like a sketch that was stretched out, for 2 hours or something like that. So he's waiting for the cable guy. He's in the shower, and then like Jim Carrey gets there very, he shows up in the movie faster than you would think, but also this movie isn't much without him. So he kind of has got to get there. I just love this entrance of this character. Just
Cable guy.
The fact that he's been this late, and but yet he is not taking a second of waiting, and he has, it's already like a sketch where he has this overly sophisticated view of his job, and it kind of goes along with like what we were saying about just the fact that this guy is surrounded by cable and everything like that, and that's all his life is, so that when he gets into a person's house, all he sees is like, what does he say? He's like, "This could be a really cool pad." you know, and it's almost like he's viewing like this first encounter is like, okay, this guy could be my friend, and I can hook
Yeah.
like another person, and I can hook him up good, you know, with all this free stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, he
Yeah,
says, "I'll juice you up,"
right. Oh, is that what
because
he says?
Jack Black Jack Black tells him, "Yeah, you
Right.
gotta just offer him $50. He'll give you all the dirty
Yeah,
channels or whatever."
it's
Yeah,
like the inciting incident of the movie in a way is like, can he get porn from the cable guy pretty much if
yeah.
he just like, yeah,
And then
you know,
Jim
and then
Carrey is thinking like, "Yes, this is perfect. This is my in to like become friends with him. Is hook him up with all the dirty channels." Yeah,
right, and because that's when he asks him that like when does it, so first doesn't he like stay for a little bit like watching TV? He's like, what are you still doing here,
yeah, yeah.
or
Mm.
something like that, and then he's leaving. Jim Carrey kind of seems disappointed, like, you know, that, I don't know, like you could tell he just wants to hang out with this guy or something. And then really the invitation to be a friend is when he brings up the next line, you know, when he asks for the secret channels.
Yep.
And then that's when he turns around and it's like him, you know, invite him to a movie or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I think he invites him to like the satellite dish. Is that the same scene?
Possibly. I honestly was hoping you would help me remember some of the specifics of this plot.
I think then
I
he,
think that's when they first hang out.
yeah, and
Yeah,
he's like, he's really like insisting on him visiting the satellite dish with him, and
yeah,
so they go, and it's like it's weird because they don't really know each other.
right.
Um, and that's just kind of like, yeah, starting the whole thing of Jim Carrey trying to take advantage of their non-friendship.
Yeah. And doesn't he like at the end when they're hanging out, like ask him, so I don't even know your name. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you want to know my name?
yeah, yeah.
And I feel like it's that just that personal and the personal touch that Matthew Broderick's character has, and also maybe just his ignorance to, I don't know, the who this guy could be, and also the cable, I don't know, this whole the exchange of free cable
Hmm.
also is like just what leads him to be maybe a little too friendly to him, and what leads to hit the cable guy getting like too attached.
Yeah, yeah. And Matthew Broderick is definitely, he's like a nice guy who's up until he gets really desperate, he is pretty nice to him and like turning him down. And almost the reason their like friendship starts is just because he's too nice to just completely like cut him out in a way,
Yeah,
even though he
yeah,
does try. Yeah. You know, this
yeah.
also reminded me of, I mean, there's just like a lot of movies where the scenario is sort of, it's these two guys that coincidentally meet. One is really just a weirdo and very lonely and looking for a friend. And the other one has just gone through something in his life and he's really stressed out. And it
Right.
reminded me of like Dinner for Schmucks, even, which is
Ah,
a ridiculous movie in its own right. But of like, there's
yeah.
always like the trope of like the weird, lonely guy who then continually is like shows a good heart and pisses off the straight
Mm,
man. And then
hmm.
ultimately you feel bad for this weird lonely guy and think that the
Yeah.
straight man's an asshole. And in this case, the weird
Yeah.
lonely guy is a complete psychopath. And
Right.
yeah,
Right.
you're terrified for the straight man.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, and I think during the satellite dish scene also is a good a quote where he says, Stephen, and actually the cable guy's name is in fact Chip Douglas. Not that matters. We're gonna keep calling cable guy. But Stephen asks the cable guy, you know, my brother is a speech therapist, and he says so.
Yeah.
Oh, like trying to pretend he like either doesn't know he has a speech impediment, or that he doesn't care or something like that. And then it's just kind of like this awkward moment where they don't talk about it, but Jim Carrey kind of keeps looking back at him,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny moment. His speech impediment in this is just so over the top, and
Yeah.
it is felt in like every line, and it's almost like one of the few things that distinguishes this character from, and like that and the hair, like are say what distinguishes this guy from Ace Ventura.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, he is definitely channeling Ace Ventura. I guess what happens after that is just we see more of Matthew Broderick going to work and still bummed about his girlfriend. The answering machine obviously says like Steven doesn't live here anymore. If you want to reach him, like so like they're establishing the fact that he's going through this breakup, and now Matthew Broderick doesn't really know. He's kind of lost. He's at a turning point in his life.
Yeah,
And
he's in a vulnerable place.
yeah. And actually,
And
this might be when he might go with Chip to the satellite after this. I might be confusing that.
Yeah, we're mixing it up.
Regardless, yeah, it doesn't matter.
I'm trying to think what happens before they go to medieval times.
Well, I think they watch more TV together at his place, and he's like, you gotta ask her to dinner, man. Like he's telling her he's like giving this guy of all people is giving him like relationship advice.
Yeah,
and he's like actually like encouraged by it because he's just so defeated by it. So he's like, yeah, okay, I'll ask her to dinner. And yeah, and
what's weird about this too, like, but just the fact that this movie is like a thriller, where you're supposed to fear Jim Carrey a lot, but yet they're always like hanging out as this like buddy comedy too. Like there's scenes like that where it's like, you gotta ask him to dinner, man, and you actually like almost kind of want to see them together too. It's strange.
Yeah, it's like actually I was reading something that Jim Carrey said. He called it like The Odd Couple Meets Rosemary's Baby or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Which I can see. But yeah, he's like giving him advice, and he's like taking him up on it. He's like, yeah, and just by like taking him up on his advice and like actually listening to his advice, he's just like in a way giving Jim Carrey a free pass to like continue to be a part of his life in a way. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
And then I think from there.
Well, and I also think through this though too, isn't he like trying to build up a little bit? Like he's trying to tell the cable guy like, I don't want to be friends with you or something, but he like fails or something. Like that's just like a running thing throughout, like where he just he can't seem to man up to just like tell him like, all right, I need some space now, man. And it's like and then Jim Carrey takes like rejection, but then he comes back. It's like, okay, I see how it is.
Yeah. It never ends. He's always,
but he somehow keeps contacting him or finding him or showing up at his house and calling him. Yeah. Well, and I'm mixing up so much of the plot here, but I guess we can get to medieval times because that's what I remember next.
Well, before
unless there's something first. Yeah.
They go. They have the basketball game.
Okay, all right. I remember that. He's like, oh, okay. It's it's a roughhouse game, huh?
Yeah, which is actually a really funny scene. Yeah, when he's just going way too hard and just getting right up into the guys' faces.
Yeah,
I feel like in the 90s and early 2000s, there's a lot of comedies that use like pickup basketball.
Yeah,
as like a setting for a really comedic, like wacky scene. Yeah.
Right. That's another scene that stands out to me is like with the medieval times scene is just like mainstream comedy. Like, oh, let's have a basketball game. Oh, let's go to a place that we all know is weird, and then the characters will go there and do the weird things and comment on how weird it is. It feels, it's like very. I mean, for the 90s, it's modern because it's like. It feels like a thing that would be done in the 2000s.
Yeah, definitely. And Yeah, I mean when they're playing, he's just super super aggressive and
Yeah.
has
And
no
then he's like, "What
self-awareness.
are
And
what are you doing?" And when the game's over, it's like, "What are you doing, man? What was that?"
yeah, yeah, and that's one of like Matthew Broderick's like many breaking points. Is like one, he just totally embarrassed him, and also
Yeah.
just is
Yeah.
just a lunatic, and he broke the backboard. Um, yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah. He like does a shack over the like one of his friends. He says, "Thanks for the lift, buddy. I haven't dunked since 8th grade," or something like that.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, he's also this like freak athlete, of course, but
I mean, he is like with a lot of things he does. He like slides through like like air vents and stuff in this movie. He does all sorts of shit. The way he gets, I was trying to picture when he kills, not kills Owen Wilson, but when he pretty much just when he fucks it up Owen Wilson.
yeah,
I was thinking like, oh, so he must have did like a Jim Carrey slide under the urinal in order to do that. Like
yeah,
like a type of like a feat of flexibility you would see him doing the mask where he just like squeezes his body between a
yeah,
door or something like that.
yeah, and that's where I wonder, like, is it implied that just from him watching so much like TV and movies, like, is he then, just from like watching action movies or something, is that how he's like taking in all this like combat
Right.
experience that he has? Um, yeah, but I guess that all after that, there's kind of like the date with his ex-girlfriend, which goes well, I think, because really like his ex-girlfriend, it doesn't like hate him by any means. Like they're on pretty good
No,
terms.
it's almost like a frustrating like situation. You're like it's I don't know, it's held so much weight as like the big conflict for the protagonist in this, but it's really not even like I don't know, there's nothing that makes you feel like, I don't know, fear for him not getting this girl, really.
Yeah, no, it like she seems just like really nice, and like she actually didn't break up with him. Yeah,
Hmm.
it seems like they're just like in a yeah on a break or something like that. Yeah, but then I forget exactly how it happens, how Chip gets Matthew Broderick to continue to stay with him, but then they ended up going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
medieval times.
It's a lot of just that same thing, that push pull
Yep.
between a friendship or not. So at medieval times, as we said before, Janine Garofalo is their waitress, and it's just hilarious because you could tell she's just like, a young adult who's like hates this job and is just doing it to get by. And
Mhm.
then the cable guy's there just going around along with the whole act, and you could tell it's just like ruining her night. Um,
Yeah,
and
but
she
then
has
all
this.
go ahead.
All right, she has this line where she says, Steven says, "Can I get a knife or fork?" And she says, "There were no utensils in medieval times, hence there are no utensils at medieval times."
Yeah. And then doesn't maybe I'm thinking of something else, but doesn't he go like, do they have Pepsi in medieval times or something
Yeah,
like
he
that
say he
too?
says he says there were no utensils, but there was Pepsi, and she says like, "Dude, I got a lot of tables."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. She's just not having it. She doesn't care about staying in character.
When he says, "Where are we eating?" He says, "Only the best restaurant in town." And big wide shot of medieval times.
Yeah. And then of course for some reason he has hooked up everyone, all the knights, with free
Yeah,
cable
with
or
cable.
something. So then because of that he gets to fight his friend
Right,
during like
right.
that's a perk of being friends with the knights, is you get to fight your friend in the middle of medieval
Yeah, I
times.
guess. And one of the weapons that he uses in this fight, Jim Carrey, that you see him put it down at the end. Like he has this axe, which is totally sharp, and I'm kind of like, what? Just because they have armor on, like that is dangerous as hell. That was
Yeah,
his weapon.
yeah, it's yeah, it goes way too far. And
Yeah, you could also feel like Jim Carrey, like he's like narrating the fight as it goes on,
yeah,
and like his voice, he kind of like makes sound effects with his voice as like the music goes and like as he's like attacking him, and I don't know, it's really like hilarious and creepy at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. This is definitely where like the Ace Ventura comes at him too. Like the same things, like
Yeah,
yeah, narrating the fight.
a lot of the physicality comes out, and yeah, it's just like great cinematic physicality that you could only compare to like old school like silent comics in a way, and like Steve
Yeah,
Martin and stuff like that. Yeah, because otherwise this scene would be like some generic, like it is a generic thing, just the fact of like, oh, look at the two characters at medieval times, here they are fighting, but just Jim Carrey's like ability to perform makes it something else. Like,
yeah.
because otherwise it would be like, say, like in Role Models when Paul Rudd has a sword fight.
They're
There
LARPing.
nothing really special to it. They're just doing it because it's a funny, nerdy thing to be doing.
Well, obviously that gets Matthew Broderick pissed off again because every time they're together, something ends up happening.
Well, I think they're still kind of friends though at the end of this, like because
Um,
they go home
oh yeah, they go
afterwards,
back. Yeah,
and you could tell the cable guy is just like he's thrilled with how the night went.
yeah,
It's like, this is my best friend now, and they get back, and he's given Steven this whole new setup.
he juiced
Um,
him up. Yeah.
yeah, he juiced him up, which it is like I do miss like the fact that we used to have like entertainment setups that did take up that much space. Actually, like now
Hmm.
we just have one TV that really can do everything. But back
Hmm.
then we had something that was like a whole wall of space, and it like
Yeah,
big ass speakers, and it filled up your whole room. So this is like a very like this is a thing that was cool like in the 90s for sure.
yeah, yeah. This movie is very like of its time. Uh, just like obviously because of how centered around like cable TV it is, but yeah, everything from like the entertainment center to Jack Black saying, ask for all like the extra channels.
Yeah,
Like that
right.
was like, yeah, oh
That's
yeah,
how
you
you
want
watched
extra movie
pornography back
channels.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like that was like a big deal for people was to get all this like extra shit. Um yeah, yeah, and he broke
Could
into
go
his
get your
place and
TV mod, man. I got my TV modded.
yeah, yeah. And
Cable guy hooked it up.
yeah, and then I guess you're right. Yeah, like Chip
So yes,
and
yeah,
Steven are like kind of on good terms.
they're kind
Yeah.
of buds, but he's not happy about it because he is giving him like thousands of dollars worth of stuff. So it is like a very uncomfortable thing. And he says like, I want you to take it back. And he's like, but you've given, he's like, I can't just take this. I can't accept this. He's like, but you've given me the best thing, friendship.
Friendship.
Friendship. He's like, yes, but I've given you friendship, and you've given me friendship, so we're even. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't
Yeah.
understand how it works. Um, and so he's mad at him, but then like the next day the cable guy calls him and he goes like, all right, I thought about what you said. I'm taking the equipment back, but then he just like they decide to have like a karaoke party just before he has
Yeah.
to give it back. So then he has this big bash at Steven's house. Um,
With his friends, aka
yeah,
all
yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
preferred customers. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a line where Steven's like, "You have some good friends." He's like, "Oh, they're just preferred customers," and he
Yeah.
says it in like a sly way too, like they really aren't customers. You know what I mean? Like he's just good at relationships, really, but they are literally preferred customers. Like he's just
Yeah.
hooked them up all with shit.
Yeah. He's bribed them all to be his friends in a way or acquaintances.
Yeah, and there's like a
Um
scene where Jack Black he's staring Cable Guy down, and
yeah.
he's like, "I'm watching you, buddy."
Jack Black sees through it. He
Yeah.
knows he's no good. Yeah. I think doesn't Jack Black like end up leaving after that? Um and
Leaving the party.
I think he leaves. Yeah, I don't
Well,
know. But
I think Jim points out to him. He's like, "Look at him," because he introduces Steven to a girl,
Yeah.
And he's like, look at him, he's having a good time. And he's like dancing with the girl.
And he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
he's trying to be like his wingman. He's like, look over there. Like, pretty cute, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
Look
been
over
looking
there.
at you all night. Yeah, she's been
Right, right, right,
oogling at
right.
you. Yeah.
Right. And doesn't like an old dude have like a song that he sings
Yeah, what
karaoke?
does he sing?
What? I don't know. I don't know.
It's a really popular song. Yeah, like a popular 80s song that he
Yeah.
belts out, and it's super weird. And
It is weird. And what does Cable Guy sing then?
this is yeah, okay, I've got to find out what he sings because this is
This is one we have to bring up. We'll get torn apart if we don't bring it up.
Somebody to Love.
Yes, yeah. Somebody to love, and of course he puts all of his Jim Carrey-isms into it,
Yeah.
and it's great. And while he's doing that, Matthew Broderick is in the other room sleeping with the girl, and
Mhm.
there's maybe along with the game night scene, maybe this might be the scene I laughed at the most, where Cable Guy and like 5 other people just kind of just explode into this room where they're sleeping together, and and he's just dancing and staring at them while they're doing it in there, and just keeps
Yeah.
looking and just dances his way out. And it's not only just hilarious and creepy, but it's like a great like frame, like a great
Yeah.
movie frame. Like there's one day like on my Instagram where I think it was like happy birthday to like Jim Carrey or happy birthday to Cable Guy or something like that. And it was that frame. And I didn't really know what context it was, but I just loved the look on his like face. And I thought it was just such a good frame that I was like, oh, that's awesome. And it's even better that you just know in the context in the movie what it is. It's like a
Yeah.
pretty classic moment.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. That's yeah, they're both on top of the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just like pulled up that clip, and it's funny, like, and even like a small detail, Jim Carrey is always making like references and stuff, and before he sings the song, he just goes, does anybody remember the documentary Gimme Shelter on the Rolling Stones featuring whatever? Like
Yeah.
that's why he's singing this song. Like it's not because of the song, like he knows this song through a documentary that he watched.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good movie. Well, there's just a lot of movie references in this movie,
Mhm.
which is fitting.
Another thing Ace Ventura always does too is reference movies and shows. And I guess yeah, after this party the next day, they're both in like good moods, having breakfast, and Matthew Broderick is actually like, because he's bummed
He's
out
in
that
a good mood.
his ex-girlfriend was on a date with Owen Wilson, whatever. So
Right.
he's like, okay, this is me moving on and everything. And he then finds out
I
that the girl he slept with was a prostitute and that he
yeah,
paid her.
and he's the way he brings it up is I love the way that he tells him too. He like because he thinks that he thinks it's obvious. The Cable Guy, he says, oh, that's just how it is, man. I got this time, you got next time. He's like, I pay this time, you pay next. He's like, pay what?
Yeah.
He's like, dude, a girl like that would never hang out with us for
Yeah,
free.
right. Yeah. Which actually
uh,
is great. It's just actually like perfect for the story because of course there's no
right.
way he's right. There's no way this woman would be friends with this Cable Guy unless he was
And
either giving her free cable or paying her or both.
I think it's like a realization for Matthew Broderick's character is like, oh wait, so now I'm in this guy's group now. Like she would never like spend time with guys like us. It's like because I'm now a guy like this because I've been hanging out with this guy. I'm no
Yeah.
longer a respectable human being,
Yeah.
pretty much. I'm scum
Yeah.
of the earth.
Oh shit,
So
I'm going to become like this guy now because I'm in
right,
his crew.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. So I pulled before we move on. I did pull up some of the movie references, since we,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, don't have you remembered. So when he gives him the, the setup, like we were talking about in the scene earlier, he's like, I got you the big screen TV, deluxe karaoke machine, and THX quality sound that would make George Lucas cream his pants. um, and that's really it. Because all the other ones are like that. Rotten Tomatoes is listing are like, I think there are movies that are like, they're like, he's like reciting lines from movies. They don't list any ones where he's like, do you remember that scene from this movie? Which is kind of more so what I was going for.
I think it's
We'll
hard.
see.
It's hard to.
I'll find more as they go on.
It's hard to remember all of them because they're so quick, and a lot of them are like deep cuts. Maybe not for
Yeah,
1996, but now
I
it's
think that's what it is. So I think there's even more movie references than we realize in this.
yeah, and even just normal thing. It's seemingly normal things that Jim Carrey says could possibly be just actually referencing something else. Because I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but even in the end, when Matthew Broderick's trying to figure out his real name, when he's told that it's actually not Chip, he says his name is Ricky Ricardo or whatever, and he starts laughing. Like, yeah, just everything about this guy almost seems like he's just like a caricature of an actual like TV guy. Like
Yeah,
he
here's that
is.
Rolling Stones line. You might
Yeah.
recognize this song as performed by Jefferson Airplane in a rockumentary called Give Me Shelter about the Rolling Stones and their nightmare at Altamont. That night, the Oakland chapter of the Hells Angels had their way. Tonight, it's my turn. Like, a lot of, like, these are really, like, well-written, like, monologues for the cable guy. Like, he has, like, very just, I don't know, he has like a lot of like really smart things to say about like television and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the more we're talking about it, the more I'm actually think I'm liking this movie more than when I was watching it. Because part of me gets a little bit sick of Jim Carrey as the movie goes on. Like he gets a little insufferable at times. But
Right.
when you really like think about his character and actually how detailed his personality is, then it's
Yeah.
yeah, I respect
It's more than
it a
you
little more.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, here we have yet again another point where Matthew Broderick is trying to kick him out of his life. And this is when we have the big Owen Wilson fight scene in the bathroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not only does he like give him a swirly, but he like then he takes him to the main part of the bathroom and does more shit to him. I forget
Yeah.
what it is, but
Yeah, I don't remember everything. I remember the hand dryer. He like sticks his mouth like right up to it or his face right up to it.
and
Yeah.
And also Owen Wilson, isn't he like he's like a big douche at dinner? He's
Mhm.
like, how long's the chicken taking? Like, did the eggs hatch yet? Like he has one of those lines,
Yeah.
and Leslie Mann just can't believe it, sort of deal. He's like, sorry, and then he's like, so what do you do? And she starts to go into it like really trying to be honest about her life, and he's like, all right, I really want to hear about this, but I just gotta go to the bathroom. And you can just tell he's all about himself. It's kind of he's also like that, and in that James L. Brooks movie, How Do You Know? Like he's like a disgusting, like self-centered person.
Yeah. Isn't he like a baseball player or something in
Yeah,
that?
he's like a
Yeah.
baseball player, and it's like so it's played off in a way where it's like he's like, I know, but I don't know how, like almost like he's innocent for being that way. Like he's like, I don't know how else to be, just like it's
That's a pretty good
ridiculous.
Owen Wilson. Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
good impression.
that's how he is in it. He's like, just I stay, I'm figuring this out. Like I usually tell women to go, but you can stay, I guess.
That's a good impression, Luke. Yeah. Um whenever we
Yeah,
need
it's
another
like,
Owen Wilson impression on the show, that's yeah,
well, I did
we'll go to
suggest
you.
Wedding Crashers for 1 week, so there will
That's
be
right.
plenty more for that. Um, but yeah, the Owen Wilson scene is a creepy scene. It's where Jim Carrey kind of blends the line between comedic actor to a David Lynch actor, to where I then think, why the fuck didn't this guy work with David Lynch? Like, what did we miss out on that this
Oh
guy
man.
and David Lynch never worked together? He is like artistically at the level of an actor to work with David Lynch like easily. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, no, like no knock on Ben Stiller or the Farrelly brothers or any of that, but damn, he should have been working. He should have been a character in Twin Peaks or something like that
Yeah,
because
he
he
would
is,
totally fit in that world.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, and be able to really stretch that side to him because while he was so popular in the 90s because he's in these popular movies, his performances are not like traditional of like popular comedic actors, like, that where, I don't know, just this accessibility for everyone thing where it's not like there's a lot of so many creepy sides to it. Like Will Ferrell in Elf is ignorant. He's not like he's not creepy. Like the one
Yeah.
scene
Hmm.
where he's accidentally creepy to Zoe Deschanel, it's like laughed off because he's ignorant. But to
He
say
doesn't know. Yeah.
If Jim Carrey was the elf in that scene, he would be staring at Zoe Deschanel through the shower like a predator, and it
Yeah.
would be a completely different movie. But he would somehow like pull it off.
Yeah.
It's just
Hmm.
that's just like an interesting thing about Jim Carrey that I find is that he has this whole creepy, weird, like Joker-esque side to him as an actor, like David Lynch movie thing. But yet he was also able to pull off being like this popular. Yeah, it's just different for like a big movie star comedic actor than we've seen in the past.
Yeah, that's really true. Weird times in the 90s where yeah, this was sort of like the mainstream
Yeah, where you could just like
comedy movies.
do
Yeah.
do whatever, experiment. I don't know, just everyone was open to things. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All the the pre 9/11 times, everyone was so loose. Yeah.
Yeah. Where Jim Carrey was off the walls and
Yeah. Now everyone's got so
yeah.
sensitive. Yeah.
And the Farrelly brothers were able to be creepy in their movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the Fairley brothers are all trying to prove that they're not racist or something.
Right.
Green Book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
9/11 ruined the Farrelly brothers
Yeah.
for all of us.
Yeah. That's the
Um,
worst part about it. Yeah. Um,
there's also this line from, I don't remember him saying this, but it's something the cable guy says, he who hesitates masturbates. I don't remember him saying that at all, but okay.
I don't either. Yeah.
I'm just picturing him though saying it with the lisp, and I'm like, oh, that sounds funny.
Masturbates. Yeah.
Yeah, you hesitates, masturbates.
Masturbates. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but I really cannot remember a lot of. I feel like I was focused in on watching this movie, but I can't remember a lot of quotes.
Yeah, I mean,
And maybe it's just there's so many.
this was my second time seeing it. For me, that's my reason why.
I think
Um,
this is maybe my third for me. But yeah.
yeah, so it also made me think like, how would I think differently about this movie if I had grown up with it,
Hmm.
like all the other ones.
Right. Yeah.
Like how is this different from say, The Mask or something like that? Like it too is very weird and off the walls, and so I don't know, it's just something about growing up with something. As we talked about, Jingle All the Way is a very flawed movie, but it gets better every time in a way for me because I grew up watching it and I've seen it so many times.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where like yeah, because the first time I saw the Cable Guy, I was an adult, whereas so I felt like just a little more tired of Jim Carrey's character by the end. But really, I mean, yeah, like The Mask, Ace Ventura, like all these characters I grew up with, I never really got tired of or felt like they were starting to get like insufferable towards the end. Um, because yeah, different mindset as a kid watching it. So yeah, I definitely feel like this would be I don't know, I would be more like fond of this movie overall if I grew up watching it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and same with, vice versa. If I had never seen Ace Ventura until I was an adult, I definitely would not like it as much. Yeah, yeah, the passage of time. Um,
Right.
but
So
I
where were we
guess
at
I
in
guess
that
after
plot, the plot
all
of
of
this
that,
film?
um, this is when Jim Carrey starts his revenge on.
Yeah, this is where he starts his scheming, his Heath Ledger Joker scheming part of the movie.
Yeah, where he really
And
goes from
so
just like a super like weird, strange guy to like, oh my god, this guy is like terrifying. Like
yeah,
he's
so
gonna kill
we
someone.
got we got the Owen Wilson thing. He calls Leslie Mann um and he well doesn't he go to her house? Goes to her
Yeah,
house. He
he
goes to her
hooks her up with
place.
Cable.
Yeah, and he's like, that's like his icebreaker too to getting into her place, which is still like very creepy. He kind of goes like,
Hmm.
premium packages, and she's like, I didn't order any, and he says really weirdly like, you have a secret admirer, and
Yeah, yeah,
then gets into her house through that, and he's kind of like walking around her place, smelling everything as she's like asking questions about Steven, and he's like, he's over the moon for you or something like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and
I guess he is trying to like trying to help him still.
he is, but he's also in a way has like he's got like her on his side too now,
His
for the
intentions
rest
are
of the
all
movie.
for him. Yeah,
Yes, very
yeah.
much so. And then I think then Steven at work gets a call from Leslie Mann in the middle of a job, and he then I think he ditches. Does he ditch Jack Black to the rock concert
Um,
or something like that? Doesn't he like? Doesn't Jack Black come up and go like, "Are you ready to rock?" And then
yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, "I'm sorry, man, got something coming." He's like, "You're ditching me, aren't you?" And it's like just this really small thing, but you get to see like a glimpse of Jack Black into the future of his career at least, because you get to see at
Mhm.
least him say, Are you ready to rock?" At
Yeah,
least.
it's so on brand for Jack Black. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Even though it comes out of nowhere in this movie.
And then
um,
is that around the same time that he gets arrested at work for.
Yeah, so he has like one quick encounter with Cable Guy after that where he's like, I got you. I helped you out. I got your girl
Oh
back,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Do you want to go catch a movie or something? And then he finally like makes a stand and he's like, that he, all right, he's like, I'm going to have to work really hard to, um, to keep my girlfriend now. Like I don't have time for any new friends. And, um, he's like, are you sure you're okay with this? He's like, yeah, I'm okay. Most obvious, like he's not okay, like display of acting. Um, and I think after that is when he. This is a thing I missed. I don't know if I went to go grab food or something, but like, or if I just zoned out. I just remember seeing him in jail.
Yeah,
Well,
they
Matthew Broderick, yeah,
the cops show up at his work, so it's like in front of his boss. Like things are like going well, and then in front of his boss, the cops show up and like arrest him for all of the stolen stuff that Chip put in his apartment and basically framed him.
right,
And
right.
so
That makes sense.
now I guess is really when he's starting to like try and take Matthew Broderick down. And
Yeah.
yeah,
That he visits him in prison, and I gotta jump to this thing he does when he
I
visits him
know
in
what you're gonna
prison
say.
because
Yeah.
he sticks his nipple out to the glass. He just whips it out, sticks it to the glass, and And he's like, no, you're gonna get me killed in here. And there's like a prisoner right next to him going like, ooh, you're
Yeah.
mine, or something like that.
Yeah, he like winks at
And then
them. Yeah.
yeah, and then he like buttons back up. He's like, I'm just kidding. I'm just jerking your chain or something like
Yeah.
that.
I think isn't that a reference to something too? Like
It probably is. Like
I
going
think
through
it
this
is.
now, I'm starting to think like that this whole movie is nothing but references in a way,
Yeah.
because like a lot of the times you're wondering where does this dialogue even come from, and it's like, oh, it must be a movie or something like that.
Yeah, I think in that scene he even he's like, I'm just kidding, like haven't you ever seen this or whatever? And I think that must be what it's in.
Oh yeah, it's some prison movie. Fuck.
I'm trying to find it. It's like, oh Billy. Midnight Express. Yeah, he's like,
Oh, okay.
remember Midnight Express? Oliver Stone won Academy Award for Best Director. Yeah.
Yeah. I do remember him saying that.
He's just like laughing hysterically. Yeah.
Oliver Stone won an Academy Award for that.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
then
good.
that's when he's like, this is the guy that framed me. Like he's,
Yeah,
he's really
yeah,
hitting his breaking point, and of
right.
course the guard is one of his preferred customers. So
Yeah, preferred customer.
yeah.
And then he gets him out, and then we have the dinner scene. Um, he's like visiting his parents with Leslie Mann, and all of a sudden, Cable Guy's just there,
Chip's there,
and
yeah.
Chip's there. She's like, "Why'd you invite him?" And she's like, yeah, she's like, "I invited him." Like they've been like talking this whole time, um, and he wants to like he wants to tell on him, but he can't because he's got like the picture of him with the prostitute from earlier, so he's got
Yeah.
that over him too for not being able to tell his girlfriend.
And then Chip's
And
like trying to like get the family on his side too, and he talks like he's talking
yeah,
about medieval times, but making it seem like Matthew Broderick was the one that was like crazy. And
oh, like from his perspective, yeah, he tells like a whole story. Like it's very reminiscent of like I don't like the way say like just like say like how Michael and Jan act in the Office like dinner party episode where like they're trying to like put on a thing to appear normal and likable and charismatic in this dinner party.
mhm.
It's like what dinner party's about, and like I feel like you see the Cable Guy putting a lot of his like his personality disorder and lying ability and the fact that he's watched a lot of TV on display in this dinner party to like get everyone on his side, pretty much, including, which I will continue to say as long as we're talking about the dinner party, Bob Odenkirk, who's always just
Yeah.
sitting there like laughing a lot at, and really likes Chip in this scene.
Yeah. He's the life of the party, and I think he's hilarious. And
Yeah, and he always says like the most corny of jokes too, and
yeah.
they laugh. I don't even remember. I wish I had one of those jokes ready.
Yeah. Um I can't think of any specifics in this scene besides the password is
Yeah.
vagina. I forget what clues Jim Carrey gives, because Matthew Broderick just goes very broad, like woman center.
Yeah, woman center.
And then of
And
course Jim Carrey's giving clues to Matthew Broderick's girlfriend, so that's
and doesn't he like Matthew Broderick go like, I'm not saying it, and then
yeah.
and he's like, to that my mom, and then his dad goes like, she's a grown woman, she can take it.
Yeah. It's so relatable because anyone in that situation would hate to play that like with their
Yeah,
parents. But then
Jim or with
Carrey's being
anyone,
so
it's like one of the
likable.
most
Yeah.
just one of the most cringy dinner party games you could think of is what Chip decides to bring up.
Yeah. But the whole like point of it too is like not the whole point of it. Like Chip is writing these himself. I forgot about that. Like these aren't just like, oh, these are a part of the game. Like Chip is purposely writing all of these, like foreskin and penis,
Oh,
to make it uncomfortable.
to make it weird, yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm just looking at the
It's
clip
just,
now of him.
it's just so great, like the fact that he's like playing this game with him and that he's whispering it creepily into his ear right after he
Yeah,
got this guy. He just got out of jail because of this guy.
yeah, right. Yeah, he was just he was
Uh,
literally framed by this guy.
yeah, it's fucking comedic gold. The password is
Yeah,
penis.
and then he's yeah, okay, so like he for the the clue he gives for vagina is penis, so he's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
penis,
And
penis.
he says it so mischievous. Everyone laughs at his like
Everyone giggles
delivery
and
of
then
it. Yeah,
he's like like
yeah,
whatever, yeah, and he keeps saying it too. He keeps penis, penis.
yeah. And then he like when she guesses it, he gives Leslie Mann like such a weird hug around her shoulders. He's like,
Yeah.
she got it, she got it. Really fucking weird.
And his dad's like, I would have said schlong. Yeah, like just making it worse and worse for him.
uh,
Oh yeah,
well,
that's
we've probably
yeah.
talked enough about that, but
We have,
I,
yeah.
I I really like it. I like that scene a lot. Um, and I think eventually Steven loses it, and everyone's like, take it easy, Steven, and like as if
Yeah.
he's like an insane person, boy cried wolf sort of situation thing, and they're all on Chip's side.
Yeah. They have no idea
And
what Steven has gone through the past like weeks with this guy.
right.
So, yeah.
And I don't really remember what happens directly next.
So after that, so yeah, Chip leaves. Everyone's mad at him, and later then we find out from Jack Black, I think, um that Chip doesn't actually, well, first of all, his name isn't
Yeah,
Chip. It's like
yeah,
Larry or something, and he doesn't work for the cable company because he was fired for stalking customers to be their friend. So he's fired for doing the same thing he's doing now.
right.
And this is when he like kidnaps Leslie Mann and takes her to the satellite dish. I think that's what this leads to then, where he has that monologue about cable, where you'll be able to
Yeah,
watch whatever while playing Mortal Kombat with your friend in Vietnam.
right, right, right. Well, like he actually says it before in that first scene, but now he says it and it's in an even darker manner.
Yeah, yeah.
And this part of the movie is where, for me, I'm like, okay, this movie is like, I don't know, it's like trying to, it's like unique. It's like really building towards something.
Hmm.
Like it comes full fledged. This guy's insane, psychopathic, like willing to murder people. Because like before, when it's like the weird like buddy comedy stuff, it's hard to see that as much. Because
Hmm.
as he said, he's literally going like, he's like, go, you got to talk to her, man, or something like that, or like, here, have some eggs,
Hmm.
man. What a night, right? And stuff like that. And it almost I was able to see really like, oh, I see why like Ben Stiller would want to direct this sort of thing, because it's really unique, and why it's like shot in a lot of way in like differently than a lot of comedies throughout, like not as like brightly lit and stuff like that. And um yeah, because it's just like it's a unique script despite its deficiencies, and um, especially towards the end when Chip's up there being all crazy, then he like tries to kill himself and ends up surviving, and
Hmm.
um, then they're like, how you doing, Chip? After that, it's like it's just such a strange turn of events. That's all
Yeah,
kind of fit. It's just kind of fitting for what the rest of this movie is.
yeah. And even before that, it's when he's like really haunting Matthew Broderick, because where there's that scene where his eyes are like all. I think it's a dream. Pretty sure it's a dream or a nightmare
Really.
where Matthew Broderick is seeing him going like the cable guy, and he's like in the hallway through the peephole, like
Right, right,
trying to
right.
bust open the
So he's like
door.
reliving that scene from the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he tries to have that like prophetic um
Yeah.
death, and he
Yeah,
survives
yeah,
somehow.
yeah, which is also like a thing from a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And
He
maybe it's
tries to have a
referencing Lion
prophetic
King.
death.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, right. He's trying to die like Mufasa or something like that.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
thinks this is the perfect like ending to my story. And and then he, of course, the whole, I was wondering how the whole Ben Stiller trial was going to like fit into the story, and of course they're finally finding out the verdict, and as soon as they're about to announce it, he, all the cable goes out because he slams into the satellite.
Yeah, yeah.
um
Which is very similar to the ending of The Truman Show, which we covered a couple weeks back in a way.
that's right, yeah, the
Yeah,
transmission, cut transmission, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot we just did another Jim Carrey movie recently.
right.
And yeah, and then we get him, and he's been rescued. He's in the helicopter, and the paramedic guy is like, hey buddy, you doing okay? And he's like,
Right, right.
am I really your buddy? And he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
sure, yeah, sure you are. And he goes, and
And
then
you
he
could
just
see
like has
he's
that
like
creepy smile.
he's on a whole nother thing now. And now
Yeah.
he's like, all right, on to the next one, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna destroy this paramedic's
This
life
guy's
here.
life,
Yeah.
yeah. Great, great ending. I thought, yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it couldn't have ended better.
Yeah. It definitely yeah, they wrapped it up nicely with that.
Yeah.
Um yeah, that's the cable guy. Yeah.
What's funny about the Truman Show recently is I was like, here's a weird comparison I have. Is I was thinking about like the way that the town in the Truman Show is portrayed, and I just kept thinking of like the Matrix for some reason, and how the city and like the real world in the Matrix is portrayed. It's like very similar, like the town is very similar, like 9 to 5, like robots like walking around sort of deal. And the town, like while it's shown in a little darker of a manner, it's still kind of that same feel. And I know like the Matrix is like shot in Chicago, and so they try to not make it look like Chicago sort of deal, which you can always kind of do because not everyone knows all the Chicago landmarks and buildings and stuff. But it's kind of just shot overhead, and for some reason in my head recently, I just keep comparing those movies and and they're just like the way they shoot like everyday society. And
Yeah,
like I
well,
don't think a lot of people would think of it necessarily in that way, but I find them just, I don't know, philosophically similar in that manner. And I know they both are saying completely different things and have completely
yeah.
different plots and shit. But just on those things, I just thought I'd bring that up
Yeah,
because
that's interesting. Yeah.
that's just something that came up because after our Truman Show episode, all these, I don't know, just I'll like think of the Truman Show out of nowhere for like no random reasons. Like if I'm just running errands at a mall, I'm like, look at all these people. This is kind of like the Truman Show.
Yeah.
Hey, the Truman Show is kind of like the Matrix. This is also kind of like the Matrix too.
Yeah,
the
wow, that's
the
interesting.
the the world is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, is this a simulation? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I wonder what was going on in the, yeah, maybe this was just a late 90s thing where it's like getting to the turn of the century, and people were like becoming more like, we were as a society becoming more self-aware of I don't know, like how strange life is as like
Yeah, it's just like an awakening of sorts. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
sometimes when I think that way and I'm walking around like that and I'm just like looking, I'm like, isn't this insane? All these people out here running errands, like blah, blah, blah. And I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, wow, it's kind of fucked up that I think this way. But then I'll be like, wow, but at least I'm not alone, because like the people who like made the Truman Show think similar
Yeah.
like that, or like the Matrix or something like that, you know. You're not, so like I'm not the only one with this distorted view necessarily,
Yeah.
if you're going to call it distorted.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's definitely something that, yeah, because you think that you're the crazy one, but then it's
Yeah.
like, no,
Like if
okay,
you
you're
go to
not.
a
Yeah.
mall, it's impossible for me now after watching the Truman Show last time. It's really hard not to think of it that way.
I even think like, what is, when I'm driving somewhere, or like I have a flight and it's like 6 a.m. and I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
what are all of these people
Yeah,
doing
and
flying from
you've
San
managed
Jose
to
to Denver?
get into the middle of everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone's going to yeah.
I
Yeah,
just like,
those.
what is drawing all of these people to
Mhm.
fly to this destination at the same
Right.
exact time, same day? Like that
Yeah.
is crazy to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah, I
man.
mean, yeah, and you're like, well, but for me, it's not a big deal that I want to fly. But like, why the hell are all these other people
Yeah.
flying? You know, like your whole small thing's like, I just needed to fly. That's why I'm here. You know, why the
Yeah.
fuck is everyone else here? That's the way I was thinking. I was like, why am I? You know, I was at DSW. I'm like, I just need some new shoes. Got to pick up some new shoes. And then I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this all?
Why do
Everyone
these
needs new
people need
shoes.
new shoes? Yeah. Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. No, that's, I think that every time I'm on a flight, they're like, ladies and gentlemen, we have a full flight here. So, if you have anything in like the upper bin that can be put below the seat, like please do it. And it's like, what, we have a full flight. Like there's hundreds of people right now that are also going from
San
Chicago
Jose
to San Jose right now. Yeah, like a very
yeah.
specific thing. It's,
That is weird.
I think that every time I fly, yeah, that's yeah, that the Truman Show. That's, you can't
Yeah.
stop thinking about that stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and just the fact that it like the cable guy ends in a similar fashion. I don't know. Yeah, like that stuck out to
Mm.
me. Um, yeah, I dig the cable guy.
You know,
Yeah,
the
I wouldn't mind owning it one day on DVD,
the,
as you
the more
should.
we talked about it, the more the more I actually, yeah, appreciate it more. That it's actually
Yeah,
not just sort of like a stupid
like
phoned
nonsense.
in
Yeah,
comedy. Like there's actually a
yeah,
lot of details in it. Yeah, because even
right.
because even watching it this time, there were moments where I was like I'm getting real tired of Jim Carrey's shtick right now in
Right,
this.
right. Well, and that's an exhausting thing to watch after a long day of work if you've had one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not necessarily a comedy to just kick back and yeah, and enjoy. There's a lot to it, but yeah, I'm glad we did this. This is one of the weirder movies we've talked about. And
Yeah,
yeah.
and well, what spawned this is the idea too of not wanting to talk about movies that are all Godfathery perfect. You know what I mean? Like I
Objectively
kind of
good. Yeah.
yeah, just like you're like you feel you need to revere every single scene sort of deal. Like that's how I almost felt exhausted by that in The Godfather, and I was kind of like, well, I could also talk about how this is really good, but I just want to like talk about, like I don't know, find some
Yeah.
more interesting to say about it than that. So yeah, I guess we talked about trying to do more like mediocre to the bad side of movies, and I'm
Yeah, for
actually
sure.
I'm very excited about doing that, because I do think for some reason we're good about talking about flawed comedies, especially. So
Yeah.
more of that should be on the way soon.
Yeah, definitely. It's more fun to talk about not so good movies a lot of the time too. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
mixing it up.